Okay. I wanted to add one thing to the agenda in item 5, and that's support for, discussion and support for current legislation in Olympia, and discussion about regarding a letter to our legislative contingent regarding our decision to opt out of the Ports Olympia Day.
Joe, are you saying you want to add that to today or for future?
Today? Can I?
We can't just add items
Okay.
on the fly.
All right.
So if you could try and make it fit under item 4.
I can do that.
All right.
Let's call it,
it
advisory policy, or yeah, there we go.
You said you wanted to write a letter regarding START.
Yeah.
I don't see why that would fit under the START.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically,
Yep.
make it fit under something already on.
Okay. All right. And yeah. Okay. We'll do that. Let's see. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. So, has everybody had a chance to take a look at those? Got a motion and a second.
Second.
And all those in favor? All of us. No complaints or communications via the city. So the item number 3 is the START meeting update. And one thing I had was this near-term noise action agenda. That there will be some more of this information coming out in the meeting that's going to be tonight. But the one thing that was of note that I wanted to point out to everybody was there was a next to the last page. You see, this is the total 2025 noise comment reports. So you can see there's like a huge number. That's this page right here. That's this page. Yeah. And the comment I had was, if you take a look at Des Moines, we're always either 1 or 2. But what always sticks out, and it has been really this way for the last year, is that there's a very, very small number of households, and their average is like so. So now these are cumulative monthly totals and trends, but my question was always, was there any way to identify those that's a relatively small number of people, and even just we talk to them, you might have a better idea of what.
So the question on the table is, can we get access to the actual complaints specific to Des Moines? I know we get a chance to look at them if they email us, and we have a way of directing them to the right agencies for formal complaints. But we would like to review those, and it would be nice to see the ones that are coming in that we're not seeing directly via email through the formal process. Yeah. That's something we need to ask the noise group about, right?
Yeah, that would be...
That database should be public.
That would come from the port, wouldn't it? Yeah, this is their database.
Yeah, I can make the request.
It would be nice to see either a summary or, just hear what folks are at issue with. It would be really good to be able to give them some level of feedback, in my opinion, about, since it's not a big number, we could do something. I have done something to kind of review that a little bit. It would be nice to at least let them know that, we're tracking that as well, and if there's something we can say that...
You might have to put something out online that says, like, hey, are you one of these 9 households that are making noise complaints? Please reach out, because there might
be... I don't want to change the process. There's a pretty good process, but all we do is need to see the information coming in and decipher it, because a lot of it is...
Yeah, over the last year...
Publicly available information?
Yeah,
it should be.
Public information.
It might not be. It might be like...
If it is
no, it's public. It's got to be public.
Over the last year, this has always been a single digit or a low double digit number. And
I mean, I'd like to align that with what Federal Way is seeing and what Burien is seeing.
I know that the reporting is pretty easy with the app that the airports put out there. So it's either someone who is,
It would be nice to be able to align that to a particular runway, a particular operation. If we do choose to engage in in changes of approach patterns or flight patterns, it'd be nice to at least align those to the noise complaints. I'm sure the noise group has looked at that as, at a high level, but we should be aware of it and be able to communicate that to our city.
I've never, to my knowledge, or to my recollection, the START has never
Disseminating that.
drilled down on any of this data. We just get it, and it's...
Yeah, but then it's just data just sitting there. It doesn't really give you a lot of information. Let's dig a little deeper on that if we could. So maybe, Rebecca, if you give us some feedback, that'd be great.
I'll look into it.
Thank you so much.
And then the other piece of information that was out there, and actually briefly mentioned it in the council presentation, was that the draft map for the new 65 DNL, which we were going to throw up here on the screen to see. So, it's pretty noticeable. But you see, the question that came to mind when I was looking at this, you can see where the red dotted line is the old 65 DNL. So it looks like there's just some moderate expansion on the east and west sides, but there's pretty significant expansion down to the southwest. And if you, it's maybe not quite so visible on this map, but if you go to like the King County parcel viewer map, there's actually a lot of properties down in this southwest corner where that expansion, it looks like before it ended sort of about 240th, and now it's going to go down to at least like 244th, and then expands quite a bit on the west side. So the thought I had, or the question I had is, one, over time, I know that has moved back and forth, probably, or that line has moved more than once. So was it further out before? So, or...
So yes, it has been further out.
Yeah.
I do have a GIS map that I wasn't able to pull up because I have to be logged in. That has the different boundaries.
But that was due to, as I understand it, we had quite a larger complexion of noisier planes.
Sure.
So I think that's the main driving factor. And the use of the runways has changed a little bit, but you can clearly see just this is going to be strictly due to estimated increased flights.
And you see the same thing up on the northwest corner of this map. And so that's the other first question I had, is that basically just indicates the anticipated use or the increase in use of the third runway?
So
Because
I have it a little bit here. I know it's harder to see because it's a smaller one. But this one, I'm going to turn on and off the 1985 remediation, and that's this big wide one right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where the older one is. So you can see it did go further at one time.
Yeah.
And then what you see up there is the current.
Right.
And then what the confusing thing is, what you'll see on the Part 150 is that when it shows you the 2022 contour is different than the current remediation boundary. So there's a little bit confusion because when we went to the workshops, it didn't show the current remediation boundary. It just showed these two lines, the 2022 versus the 2032 DNL lines, but it did not show the current remediation boundary. So there was a little bit of confusion, and that's why we ended up getting this one put together, which showed the difference between the current remediation boundary versus the 2032 boundary.
So it looks like the
But
white
at one time
line,
it did go further.
Yeah, the
Like
white
I said,
line.
there wasn't, because we even have this one that has a map that showed what was originally different insulated ones that had gotten port packages.
Right.
So.
Okay. So there is a way to tell, and it's likely that most of the properties in this expansion for 2032 have already received port packages if they apply.
It's in the database.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone,
Yeah.
but there are some that are going to have possibly.
Have done, yeah. Because I know of people that live south of 240th that have had
Yeah,
port
my
packages,
house
but it's
does.
been, oh yeah,
That's
it's been
correct.
years and years, but,
Yeah,
so,
you can see
yeah.
your different
Yep.
port packages there.
Oh, okay. So it's likely that this is not gonna have a huge impact in terms of the sound installation program on our city.
I mean, there's still gonna
Yeah.
be,
A couple public facilities, I think, were on the list.
Mhm.
They identified them in the SAP,
Mhm.
in some detail.
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely still
Yeah.
some properties out there
Yeah,
that did
yeah.
not take advantage,
Yeah.
and even if they did qualify, or,
Yeah.
but I don't know when those properties
Mhm.
built either, so
Yeah.
that could have been, that could affect it too.
Yeah, I can't think of too many new properties down there. I know there were some developments along Kent Des Moines Road, but I can't think of, that's really pretty infilled there, so I don't know.
216th, there's new properties coming in, but that's a
Yeah.
little further south.
Yeah.
So I assume, and you can see properties that are
Yeah.
between the two lines that didn't have port packages from that original
Mhm.
line,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so.
Number of them.
Yeah,
Sure.
so all of these in here would be,
Uh-huh.
any ones that aren't highlighted would be qualified, you know.
Mhm. So there will be some kind of impact on our sound
Mhm.
program.
Yes.
Okay, that was my question. And then, unless there's some more questions about the start,
You wanted to talk about the start letter.
oh,
Letter
yep,
and
oh, I do, yes.
start on Olympia.
On the Olympia Day, we decided not to go to the Olympia Day. The Burien Airport Committee drafted a letter. They submitted it to the city council for their approval. So I don't know if it went out over the city council's letterhead, on the city council's letterhead, or as a letter from the Burien Airport Committee. Maybe it was signed by both, but anyway, it essentially said, hey, here's why we didn't show up. And that may be more appropriate now, because I understand they just canceled the whole day, so, I don't know, just what do we think about that? Should we be thinking about putting together a letter and saying, hey, here's why we didn't show up? At least.
Who made that decision?
We made that decision here, yeah.
The Burien Airport Committee made it as a recommendation to the Burien City Council. The Burien City Council then took action on it. The reason why Des Moines was unable to do that was because of scheduling, because the start date was supposed to have already happened. So to do something now, which you're welcome to do, but it's kind of after the fact, and I can email you a copy of the final letter from Burien.
Yeah, I've got a copy, yeah.
Okay.
I think
don't think
I read
got
their
the
letter.
copy. Is it necessary?
In my opinion, it's always better to engage, even if the entire, even if the council or the advisory committee is not completely in consensus. It seems to be better to engage with our legislatures, to exchange ideas. That seems like it would be a good thing. So they must be wondering why. They've tried. This is outreach. They tried to put that program together, and it didn't come together. So I think they're probably disappointed that they didn't have a chance to speak with us, or maybe they're relieved. I don't know.
I think I would recommend we maybe not do that, and it's simply because there's already other legislation currently going before our legislators, including some that our legislators have introduced regarding airport issues.
Yep.
And so I would just want to be really mindful of sending any message that isn't we want bills that help Des Moines to get passed. And I think you're right, us not engaging probably looks like, I know Sea-Tac was also not planning on attending, and that's part of why the port canceled.
Yeah. Again, it looked like, there were some things they wanted to discuss, other things they wanted to make sure that their position was clear on the things that they weren't in alignment with. But maybe that's not the best process for us, right? Yeah.
Well, it was really the first time I've seen the start have any kind of a disagreement about anything, basically. And it was pretty clear right from for several meetings, or for at least the last 3 meetings, that there was a lot of disagreement about what the port supported and what the communities thought was important to support. So, and it never did come together. And then I think because they operate on consensus, they waived that. They finally waived that rule and said, well, we're going to go in with this one as a, little asterisk and say, well, we don't all agree on this. And it seemed to me like at that point it was really.
Let's just make sure that we are engaged with the 2 big legislative bills that are going through, and that we provide appropriate comments because it's still being worked, the details. And some of them are kind of, and many of the details are rather important about how it gets done, particularly timelines and implementation methodology. So there's a lot of good in that. There's a lot of really good things for the communities in those bills, I think, if implemented in the right way.
Well, that's a good segue into the next topic was, where are those legislative efforts now, and do we need to, is there something we can do to support that process?
I think the last I saw it was just referred to Ways and Means. I don't know if we have a date or anything.
Isn't there another public meeting on this later in February? I thought there was something on one of these bills. I have to go to the site and see, but I thought there was another public comment.
Our legislators are having a town hall meeting with constituents on February 22nd, which I think is a Sunday. Maybe it just came out. That may have been what you saw.
So is it important for us to be there?
I will probably be there. I know Anthony, our government affairs person, will be there, but I don't know if you've been to one of those town halls before. I mean, it's a pretty wide group, and they're talking about all sorts of issues. But, I think anybody coming, especially as constituents, talking about issues is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's February 22nd.
I'll send you the details.
Okay, all right, so we can.
Does the council have specific issues with either of those bills that they are talking about publicly at this point, or is it still an internal discussion?
I should have just come sat down there. I'm sorry. The council does have an approved legislative agenda, which does include some things related to airport. As it relates to the bills that have still made it, because the original one that Senator Orwell introduced just sort of died a death. I think they're fast moving. So, I mean, we do have at least one council member who's been down in Olympia who's working closely with Senator Orwell. I don't think the bills are considered exactly what we would write, but, it's an encouraging first step. But there's definitely still a lot of sausage being made, if you get my, what's going to go in there, what's not, so.
I do, and, there's potential for big money and venues to have some significant environmental studies, follow-on studies, and mitigation proposals with some funding mechanisms attached to 42, what is it? I'm sorry, I can never remember these numbers. 6240. 6240, yeah, on the funding side of things, yeah. So I do think we should stay engaged with that as it moves forward.
So how do we want to do that? What should our role be? Personally show up and testify? Write up something and we all sign it and submit it as, we can submit it online?
And online, or perhaps we allow the council to, if you're going to attend, simply participate in that way by stating the position of our advisory teams as well.
If you want to draft a recommendation to council, you can.
Sure. Yeah, it's complex. This is not a simple, there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's also other programs that are also doing sort of the similar things at the federal level that kind of bump into this. It's not easy, it takes some legalese to untangle the different contingent programs that are all related to noise abatement and programs and funding mechanisms. So I'm not an expert on any of those things, but there are some general things that seem like we should be helping to approve and say, yes, we want this.
Does anybody have we gotten any feedback from our legislators on the chances of any of this legislation advancing?
I think it's too early to tell, because there's a lot of sausage making. You know, I got to find a better term than that, but that's what it is. So I think it's too early to tell, but again, because it's a short session, anything is going to be really challenging. Like, we're already at the halfway point.
Yeah.
Like 5662 goes through, but you don't have the additional 6240 going through. It's very difficult to implement this program, and it can be one of these unfunded initiatives that now we're back to where we were before for all these years. We haven't gotten anywhere. So the two are, I believe that it's pretty clear to everybody, the two are intimately tied together, I think, from my non-legal perspective. And we just need to make sure that both go through.
Well, it just seems to me like a tax on fuel is directly linked to the
usage. It's a
direct link between that and the
right.
impacts.
Right, and government grants, federal grants, airport improvement programs, none of those align well with getting our noise abatement program moving along and funded. Nor does it look at cumulative effects and other additional pollution effects and noise effects that at least would be considered in an additional mitigation that is not covered today. And it specifically says cumulative effects. I mean, these are nice words. These are things we've been pushing. It's a good. The bill is representative of the concerns of the community, I think.
Okay, so how do we want to do that? I had a brief presentation at the Senate committee meeting.
I heard you.
And but it really was probably a little too focused. So do we want to just kind of collaborate and send some stuff back and forth? And we probably are working on a pretty short deadline, right? So like this week, or?
How did you want to take that recommendation to council under a city manager report, or?
Just.
We have a meeting Thursday, and I'd prefer not to we just reposted the agenda, so I'd prefer not to repost it again. But then after Thursday, our next meeting, we have a council retreat where there'll be no citizen comment. Then we have a study session where there's really no council comment, so it'll be March 12th. So I think if you want to get something to them sooner, I won't be able to get action from them until March 12th. But I think you're welcome to send something ahead now or even speak on Thursday under citizen comments.
Can we put something together that fast?
Can we put something together that is that's more than just say, good bill, and keep going, or of substance that would be of interest to the different folks that are making some of the decisions around this, or trying to affect people that are making those decisions. I don't know.
I read 56, 52 in its entirety, but I haven't read the companion bill.
Yeah, I've read both of them, but they're
1948, I guess, and then the Senate bill is on the fuel taxes. I haven't read that in its entirety either. So, well, I'll read those. I've got some time this.
Let's talk offline.
Okay.
I'll make a couple.
Okay.
Talk on the phone amongst us, and let's see if we can't pull something together that will add some value to the discussion,
sure.
Rather than just a general statement. Although I'd like to say we support it in some fashion, in some clear terms, and we can leave the details out at this point. Although this thing is moving pretty fast, it seems to me like the legislators are getting a lot of feedback now from their different lobbyists and other technical folks on their team, I'm sure, and we'll tune that language up. The question is, will it pass? Are we in an environment today that will allow that to pass? I don't know. When it comes to taxing, right, we're in a
So I guess what are you looking for from council? Is it just to express your support for this legislation?
Well, we just, I think there's a couple of things we could do. We could just go down, like I did before, and just say,
Mhm.
hey, I'm citizen, blah, 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 and I happen to be on the airport
Mhm.
advisory committee, and here's what our, here's my opinion. Now, if I go down there and say, I represent the committee,
Mhm.
I didn't say I represented the committee, I just said I was on the committee, so.
I mean, I guess I'm looking at the council-approved legislative priorities, and I think the section on airport is broad enough that I think it kind of captures, at least at a high level, this. So I guess if what you're looking for is like permission to go speak on behalf of the committee, let me think on that. But I mean, it does, I think, at a high level fulfill what's in the council-approved legislative priorities. So I don't think you're out on left field or anything like that.
Right, and so I think that Des Moines is interested in having at least the general concept of these bills go through.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yes, I'd say they're a start. By no means do they actually make the city whole on how we are impacted. Mm-hmm. They're very focused on individuals. Yep. And so I feel strongly, and I think I speak for members of council too, I mean, there's an individual getting impacted, then there's our tax base and us as an actual city, and the bills do not address that at all.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. There's things missing.
Yeah.
There's things missing that would be of great benefit to our community, but this can't be anything but additional positive improvement. Yeah, there could be more stuff. There could be better funding mechanisms, more specific to making sure that the money gets to the homes that need to be repaired, fixed, and new installations. We don't have a clear path there for that yet. Who's going to pay for it?
A general question, and then maybe I can tie it into this roundtable information. Basically, it seemed like what 5652 did was it kind of volleyed this whole problem to another entity called the Environmental Justice Council.
Is that what would be the newly formed committee that's real large?
Well, I think it's already, yeah, I think it's already there. Wow. I mean, because it already has to deal with, if you go back to that enabling or the legislation that this is mirrored on, it's basically Title 70, and that has all things it covers all things public health. It sets up this committee that these other agencies have to I don't know exactly how it works. Are they the watchdog? Do they, or do these entities like Watchdog have to come to them and say, hey, we're going to put in 509, and here's how we're going to here's how we're going to handle environmental impacts? Mm-hmm. Is that the way that works?
I don't think we know yet. I don't think we know yet, and if you read the bill, you don't know. Yeah. You see it's a large group of folks. Yeah. It's going to be difficult for them all to come together since they're very competing resource issues that one can only imagine could be difficult to balance out there. Yeah. But it does throw, it seems to me, at least it throws the studies that are really critically necessary, the health studies, epidemiological studies. It throws it to the University of Washington, or if they don't want to participate, to some other experts for looking at pollution, health effects, and providing some mitigation recommendations.
It seemed to me in reading the port's responses, I don't know if you had a chance, Rebecca, to read through those, but we sat there and listened to them, mm-hmm. and they were very, very opposed of the idea of another entity mm-hmm. having anything to do with this, Sure. So, however it was formed, but it just seemed to me like the real value of the legislation was if it said, hey, you have to have a plan to address these environmental issues for your projects. Well, so far as I can tell, the only response I've gotten from anybody from the port is there are no impacts. So it seemed to me like the value of the legislation was it actually forced them to admit that there were some impacts.
And the port would not be running this.
No, it was a.
Which is, I think, it's good to decentralize that, I think, to get a broader, more aggressive position to address health issues and potential mitigations, whatever those might be. We know the obvious ones for noise abatement around homes on the noise program, but there are others that it looks like they can consider. But it's based on funding of these and following up with the University of Washington studies with some health impacts, actual epidemiological studies, which they haven't done yet. And so that seems like a good thing. Anything that moves the science along that can support this. I mean, what if it's not I think it's a pretty big problem, but what if, let's get the science behind us.
Well, yeah, but here's my conspiratorial nature showing. So, is this just, I mean, literally, in all the time I've lived here, there's been people going to the legislature to talk about the airport. Is this their attempt to just volley this over the net to some other organization and say, so that when we go down there and say, hey, what about, oh wait, those guys are taking care of it now.
Maybe.
Is that?
Well, if the study comes out really strong and clear, it just adds to the body of science, then that can't be a bad thing, even if that was the only thing they accomplished. Because worldwide, these studies need to get done if we're going to have some real power to make some changes and let the money flow.
It seems like that it basically almost expanded the number of people in the ring fighting it out. It just kind of expanded that. So
that's the implementation issue that could be challenging, but if done properly, and you have an expert organization, particularly for 5652, engaged in the follow-up studies. We have these noise monitors. We have a lot of data now, and we have a lot of aircraft data from ultrafine particles. It seems like now we need to get epidemiological studies and some clear, scientific evidence that's supported by this, and this looks like there's a mechanism to do it with some timelines and some dollars associated with it if the other package goes.
Well, that kind of brings me to this letter this a copy of a letter that we got from they call it NICAR, New York Community Aviation Roundtable, and at the meeting in December, these people, this Maria Becce, BECCE, and another individual were in on the Zoom meeting, and apparently, and I had no idea that this there was even other roundtables, but apparently the roundtables are essentially sort of a fallout of some previous FAA legislation, that says, hey, you got to go out and engage your community, and so I just assumed that our roundtable was the only roundtable, but apparently there's a lot of roundtables. They're all over the country. And this meeting, they called it the Roundtable of Roundtables, was the meeting of the 8 largest airports, I guess, in the country. And they got together and had a meeting, and they came, the port, Seattle was number 8, obviously, so they port sent representation to it, and they came back and reported out, and they brought these people to talk to us. I thought that was very, very good.
And if you look at their comments, they're technical, they're engaged with the FAA on the 65 DNL in the specifics of it, and so that's a good place. And they have a broader group of folks that have expertise in these areas that are participating, a broader group than START. And FAA is doing some. Imagine if the laws were changed on the noise levels, we could actually get the FAA to change those levels. I don't know what's going on internally, quietly on those. I don't know if it's moving along fast or slow, but it's definitely been funded, I think, to continue that review. And these guys look like they're trying to be engaged in it. They're actually physically closer to their main office.
Yeah. Well,
and can do more.
But when you look at this, this organization encompasses two of the largest airports in the country.
That's right.
So this is an example of a much bigger ring with a lot more combatants.
We should be.
You see what I mean? I mean, are they more effective than us? I don't know. I mean, because essentially what that Senate bill is going to do is going to enlarge it's going to make there's going to be a lot more people involved in the discussion.
That's right. It's going to do something similar to this.
Yeah.
And apparently they have been successful in various noise mitigation programs, including changing the flight paths, which is a rather powerful way to change the noise around a community. They've been successful in some of those, and it just goes to show you what that group can do. They have the right people. They're talking to the right folks, and they must be close to the FAA in terms of
my question,
connecting
and
up.
I need to get more details, but my question in this presentation was, hey, how are you folks organized? You're obviously a much bigger organization than our start. And from what I got out of the answer was that it is a much bigger organization. It involves, but it also involves elected officials in this organization. And actually, Maria said, I represent so-and-so who is an elected official in some fashion somewhere back there, and there's, of course, millions of people. So, and so it is. It's a much bigger organization, and it seems like it has a lot more horsepower because they actually have decision makers in that organization. And in START, I think the decision makers, with the exception of maybe the steering committee, were excluded from START.
This letter went directly to the FAA.
Yeah.
This was a letter to the FAA trying to be as engaged as they can be in making sure that they are doing what they need to do to properly evaluate it with the data they have today to change the 65 DNL to something else. And there's a lot of different ways to go on that. But this is and it's a very well-written letter, and my guess is that folks in the FAA are paying attention to these things.
Yeah. Well, they obviously represent a lot of people.
That's right, and some of the largest airports in the country. Yep. So what are you suggesting?
Well,
that's why I'm saying the larger group can't be. I think a larger group of a broader group of community folks and experts can add value to the process when we're looking at noise mitigation, and perhaps do something similar to this and be effective.
Well, I think
we should tie into this group in somehow.
Well, I'm two things. One, I'm going to hopefully, if they approve it, I will be able to zoom into their next roundtable of roundtables, which is in February sometime. So if that works out, I'll just have more information to report. I think at this point, all we're interested in is what it looks to me like the problems that we're talking about are very, very similar to the problems that these people are talking about. So, and in all the time I've been on START, we get a lot of information from the port, and one of my questions is always, well, what are other airports doing? And the answer is, well, we don't really know. Or, hey, that's a little outside of our area or something. So this really, it just shows that these problems are not ours alone. They're all over the country.
Oh yeah, and there are, like I said, there are a few smaller airports that have been grandfathered in that try to control the number of flights in. I think there's only 2 in the country that have ever done that. Every other attempt to do that, I think, has failed. To try to reduce the number of flights, the kind of things we'd like to see happen, and the laws to prevent the criteria is extremely strict, and the FAA is not going to move from that position unless things like this go through. So that's why we actually need to change the law, the 65 DNL law. That's a big agenda item.
But the other connection that I saw was just thinking about 3652 or 5652, whatever it is.
5652.
5652 is that, again, it just expanded this whole thing, or worst case, just lobbed it over to another agency to deal with, but, but I noticed that the port was very opposed to that. And in fact,
Because they're not running it.
well, but, I don't know how our other, airport communities feel about it, you know, or other, you know, people out there, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of other organizations that are, you know, weighing in on this whole thing, so, yeah, it's interesting it was interesting to me to see kind of the I mean, LaGuardia, and JFK, I mean, together they're probably 75% again more customers or passengers than we do, but Sea-Tac punches way above its weight for the footprint they have. I mean, 52 million, and they're going to go to 60+ million. That's a lot of passengers, and I don't know how many of where that puts us in the overall hierarchy of the
I don't think,
airports.
well, we're not like Atlanta.
No, we're not Atlanta.
They got, you know, almost double the operations.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they got a lot more runways.
Yeah, well, yeah, look at Dallas-Fort Worth, I mean.
And we can't utilize all our runways effectively.
Yeah,
But they can do, you know, triple parallel
Sure.
simultaneous approaches.
Yeah.
They can really push the planes in and out there. It's a big time operation.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And they are not up to capacity, whereas Sea-Tac is, and LaGuardia and Kennedy
Yeah.
and Newark, those folks are at capacity. Literally the runway capacity. I mean, they have massive delays. Chicago's already above its capacity.
Yeah.
And the result is numerous delays that they're not operating unsafely. They're just adding additional delays when things get tight, and that's why you're always waiting around for 45 minutes to several hours at Chicago. And it's extremely complex coming into the three large airports in the New York area.
Well, okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna try to put together a letter.
Yeah, or let's talk about this, and maybe we'll just allow the city to present for us,
Okay.
with us. They can just mention that we're aligned with their work to support this legislation.
Will that work? Do we have to have a vote?
It doesn't require a
No.
vote. You guys can just.
Right.
So at this point, that'd be the most effective thing to do?
I think so. It's moving fast, but it's sort of early for us to say anything. That the words have just come out, and I don't know if we're smart enough to make the right additional comments to add, to really change the wording in the legislation, to do something, I mean, say something of substance. You know, I think we might need more advice on that, but it certainly meets some of the criteria we're interested in.
This is Barton, hold on, I'm gonna tell him we're just about to adjourn, so. Hey, Barton?
See if he has something he would like to say.
Joe,
Hey.
I can't find the link to the
Oh,
Zoom
okay.
meeting.
Oh, nope.
How are things? Do you have a quorum or?
Yeah, we did, but we're just about to adjourn, so we're gonna, we've got some issues, we're gonna try to set up an off-site, so.
Okay.
But you're gonna check in at 5?
At 5,
Yeah, okay.
on the other meeting.
Sure,
I've got a
okay.
link for that.
All right,
And then I have to get off of that at 5:30, but I'll
Okay.
be on for the front end.
all right, see you then.
Okay,
Thanks, Bart.
Bye.
Okay, so we don't have a list of things to do. We're okay? So we're basically waiting for the results of this legislative effort and SEPA. Have you heard anything more about SEPA?
No, I think the latest is that we're still expecting them to release sometime
Yeah,
towards the end of March, beginning of April is the last I heard.
yeah,
So,
okay, so,
It will be interesting to see what language comes out of that, because I think that is a precursor to the kind of language one might expect to
Yeah.
come out of some of these, you know, studies if
yeah.
56, 52 goes through. It kind of gives you an idea, because they should be doing an environmental review of cumulative effects, environmental justice, kind of those sorts of things, to give us a sense of where they're at with that.
And we'll ask for the records on the noise complaints, see if we can identify
I will ask for
the
those.
9 people who are either extremely persistent or,
Now, there's
you
a
know,
lawsuit.
or it's very, very noisy where they live.
Yeah, yeah, we'd like to hear from them,
Yeah,
to see if it's night noise they're concerned with
yeah.
mostly.
Well, it'd just be nice to see, you know,
A representation of the
yeah,
community,
yeah,
yes,
what that actual problem, you know.
yeah.
And let's see, and we've decided that there's going to be an impact on the proposed 65 DNL boundary is going to have an impact on some people, but it's not going to be huge.
I did request, from the group that's doing the Part 150, chart,
Yeah.
to see how many properties are between the current
Yeah.
boundary and the new one. It doesn't take into account
Yeah.
people who already received
Yeah.
port packages, but just
Yeah.
what's the breakdown of residential properties,
Yeah.
breakdown of educational facilities and that kind of thing, between the existing port package and the new boundary, and I have not received a response yet.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to find out, because I have a chart between the 2022 number and the 2032 number, but that's not
Yeah.
really, the 2022 number does not match with
Yeah.
the current port package
Yeah.
line. So I asked, hey, can you get me the same analysis based on the port package?
So it's probably just as likely that there's not just newly affected properties, but properties that probably just need the port package repairs in this area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
enough about
Yeah, we don't.
that.
Have we got the inventory of those yet?
Yeah, see, I don't have an
No.
inventory,
Yeah,
because I'm not
so-
aware of who
But
needs.
that's part of the mitigation plan that should be formalized, so
Yeah.
that we understand make sure we know what we're asking for.
Yeah, what properties are actually going to be affected.
I'm sure Burion's moving forward on knowing exactly which ones are failing at this point, where they can get information. And we should be reaching out to our folks to ensure that they know that, there's another process coming along that could provide them with some relief on that.
Yeah.
Right? And so that would be a good thing for our team to help with.
Do we have anything else?
I am not available during the next committee meeting, and Jason is not back yet.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make
Okay.
you aware of
Okay.
that, so I
Okay.
can try and have another staff member here,
Sure.
so just to be here, but
Yeah.
they won't really be able to answer any questions.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you that heads up. I will
Well-
actually be at an aviation emissions
Cool.
symposium.
Neat.
So
Yeah. Well.
What does that mean, aviation?
it's I'm going to a conference.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah, sustainable aviation fuel.
Oh, that's
I don't
just noise and
Yeah, and everything, yeah.
Oh, good.
Good.
hoping to learn more.
In the next month, other than SEPA dropping, I mean, and we're not gonna happen in the next.
I'm not expecting
Yeah.
it to happen between
Yeah.
now and the next meeting. I'm expecting it
And
to happen after the next meeting.
So really, the only thing that is gonna happen between now and the next meeting is maybe some movement on this legislation.
Right.
And then whatever thing we wanna, discuss, if
Yeah,
you
so let
have,
me know if you wanna cancel the meeting, or if you wanna
Yeah.
keep the meeting, we can
Sure.
discuss the agenda and.
Well, if you happen to get that information on the complaints and the properties, that would be interesting for us to see anyway. I mean,
It
that's
would,
more just an education, trying to catch
Oh,
up
yeah,
on
that
things.
I mean, even if I
Yeah.
get them, I could still email
Yeah,
them out
so
to you.
put them
guys
out so
for
we can
review.
work
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and if it's worthy of us getting together as a meeting, or
Yeah.
we can even work some of these side issues
Sure.
offline a little
Yeah.
bit, to make sure we can
Yeah.
summarize them right. But it'd be good to get that together.
Sure. Okay.
But I just wanted to give you a heads up, and I can follow up with you as we get closer to
Okay.
that time.
Sure.
You guys can decide.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, meeting's adjourned?